The call came at 2:17 a.m. Not loud, not urgent, just persistent enough to break sleep. Dr. Alara Quince stared at the ceiling for 3 seconds before answering. She already knew it wouldn't be routine. Nothing that called her after midnight ever was. They said the body had been in the river for 3 days, long enough for the water to soften the face, short enough for the scars to remain. Alara stood over the gurney as the sheet was pulled back. She saw the shoulder first, then the collarbone, then the hip, and she felt the floor shift beneath her, because the scar on the left hip was unmistakable. It curved slightly inward, a childhood injury, stitched badly, healed worse, a scar Alara Quince had carried her entire life. The report beside the body already had a name on it: Alara Quince. Before we continue, if you're drawn to slow, unsettling stories where identity fractures and truth arrives without comfort, consider staying with us. These narrations aren't meant to be rushed, and this one only grows heavier from here. The morgue was quiet in the way hospitals get at night. Too clean, too calm. Alara forced herself to breathe. She checked the toe tag, her name, her date of birth, her height. Correct. She reached for the clipboard, hands steady, heart not. She checked the fingerprints. Protocol demanded it. She rolled the finger gently, pressed it to the scanner. The screen blinked once, then confirmed. Match found. Alara stepped back. No, she whispered. The machine didn't respond. It never did. Dental records. She had performed this step thousands of times. Muscle memory carried her through it. She compared charts, fillings, spacing. One rotated molar. Perfect. Her mouth went dry. There were only 3 possibilities. The system was wrong. The body was altered. Or, she stopped herself. That third thought was dangerous. Alara didn't call anyone. It's not the police, not administration, not family. She closed the file, locked the drawer, and stood alone with her own death. As she turned to leave, she noticed something new. A thin incision line along the ribs. Clean, recent, surgical. Alara frowned. She hadn't had surgery there. Not ever. She leaned closer and froze. The stitching pattern was precise, medical, familiar, her own. Someone had worked on this body, recently. Someone who knew anatomy. Someone who knew her. Alara reached into the pocket of her lab coat. Her phone vibrated. A text message from an unknown number. You're late. She stared at the screen, then back at the body, and understood something terrifying. This wasn't a mistake. Alara didn't go home. She went to her office instead. Habit, instinct, denial. The hospital corridors were empty at that hour. Lights dimmed. The machines humming like they always had. Normal. That was the problem. She logged into the system. Username, password, denied. She frowned and tried again. Denied. Her stomach tightened. She reset the password. The system responded immediately. No active user found. Alara stared at the screen. That couldn't be right. The second terminal, she moved to another computer. Same result. Her name didn't exist. Not as staff, not as a consultant, not as anything. It was as if she had never worked there. She pulled out her phone and opened her email. Inbox empty, not deleted, gone. No history, no archive. Her calendar was blank. Every meeting erased. Alara sat down slowly. She dialed Marcus Vell, the hospital administrator. It rang once, then went to voicemail. She tried again. Straight to voicemail. Her chest tightened. Marcus never missed calls. Never. She headed downstairs. The security guard barely glanced up. ID? He asked. Alara reached into her pocket. Her badge wasn't there. She checked again. Nothing. I'm Dr. Quince, she said. I work here. The guard looked at her now. Blank. There's no Dr. Quince on staff, he said. Her mouth opened, closed. Check the system, she said. He did, then shook his head. No record, he replied. You'll need to leave. As she turned away, she noticed something. A new notice on the board behind the desk. Temporary staff update. Record corrections complete. The word corrections caught her eye. It felt deliberate. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. We warned you not to look too closely. Ilara's hands shook. She typed back. Who is this? The reply came instantly. Someone who makes sure things stay accurate. Back in the morgue, when she accessed a restricted terminal, she still had one privilege left. Federal Archives. She searched her name. One result appeared. Quince Ilara. Status. Resolved. Resolved wasn't a status used for people. It was used for problems. She clicked the file. It opened halfway, then froze. A warning flashed. Accessing this record will finalize correction. Ilara's finger hovered over the mouse. If she clicked, something would happen. She didn't yet know what, but she knew this. She was running out of time to exist. Some systems don't kill people. They revise them. Ilara didn't click the warning. Not yet. She stepped back from the terminal and listened. The morgue hummed softly. Refrigeration units breathing in slow rhythm. Everything sounded normal. That frightened her more than alarms would have. She returned to the gurney, lifted the sheet. I forced herself to look longer this time. The face was similar, not identical. Same bone structure, same chin, different eyes. Ilara exhaled slowly. This woman wasn't her, but she had been made to be close. Ilara examined the hands. The nails were bitten short, uneven. Ilara never bit her nails. Never had. She felt a flicker of relief. It vanished when she noticed the fingerprint ink stains. Fresh. Someone had taken prints after death. Carefully. Deliberately. Ilara returned to the terminal. She clicked the warning. The screen flickered, then loaded fully. Subject A, Ilara Quince. Status, active liability. Subject B, Mara Linwick. Status, terminated. Substitution, complete. Ilara's breath caught. Substitution, Mara Linwick, age 34. No criminal history, no family contacts. Former medical assistant, briefly employed at a private clinic. The clinic's name was redacted. Ilara scrolled. Cause of death, drowning. But below that, procedure notes. Surgical alteration performed post-mortem. Scar replication successful. Ilara's hands trembled. They hadn't just found a body, they had prepared one. A line near the bottom stopped her. Rationale. Subject. A required removal without disruption. Public death reduces audit risk. Ilara leaned back. So I was supposed to be dead, she whispered. The system didn't respond. Her phone rang. A real number this time. Blocked. She answered. Dr. Quince, a man said calmly, you're making this harder than it needs to be. Her voice shook. You killed her. A pause. No, the man replied. She died because she agreed to help. Ilara closed her eyes. Is help with what? With becoming you. You were selected because you're careful, the man continued. Predictable, minimal attachments. Ilara swallowed. What do you want? Compliance, he said. You can finish the correction cleanly. And if I don't, another pause, then you become unresolved. Ilara looked back at the body, at Mara Linwick, someone who had stepped into a life and never stepped out again. Her phone vibrated. A message. You have 24 hours to decide who you are. Ilara left the hospital just before dawn. No one stopped her. No one questioned her exit. That was new. The streets were waking up. Cafes opening. Buses sighing to the curb. People passed her without noticing. It felt rehearsed, as if the city had already accepted her absence. Her apartment door opened easily. Too easily. Inside, everything was clean. And not tidy, cleared. Her clothes were gone. Her books removed. Photos missing from frames. Only furniture remained. Generic, replaceable, like a staging area. On the kitchen table sat a small cardboard box. No label. Inside were three things. A burner phone, a passport, and a thin manila folder. Her name was not on it. The folder listed a different identity. Ilara Quinlan. Not Quince. Quinlan. Her chest tightened. She hadn't used that name in over 15 years. The memories came back uninvited. A different city, a different hospital, a research trial no one talked about. Experimental neurological mapping. Off the books. She had been young, brilliant, too trusting. She had noticed discrepancies, data that didn't match outcomes, patients who declined too fast, patients who vanished. She had reported it, quietly, internally. The next week, when the lab shut down, the lead researcher disappeared, and Ilara Quinlan was advised to take time away. She changed her name shortly after. She told herself it was for peace. The phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You were never supposed to remember that," the man said. Ilara sat down. "So this is about that," she replied. "Yes," he said. "You were corrected once. You adapted." Her voice hardened. "And now?" "Now," he said, "your usefulness has expired." She picked it up. The photo was her. The name was not. A new identity. A new disappearance. One way. "You can leave tonight," the man said. "Cross a border. Start again." "And Mara?" Ilara asked. A pause. She believed the trade was fair. Ilara closed her eyes. Mara Linwick hadn't been erased. She had been consumed. Ilara stood. She walked to the sink and began tearing the passport in half. And the phone went silent, then rang again. "You don't understand," the man said. Ilara looked at her reflection. "I do now," she replied. Ilara didn't pack. There was nothing left to take. She left the apartment as it was, cleared, neutral, a place already prepared for someone else. She went where the system wouldn't expect her to go, not to police, not to media, to an archive, a public records building buried beneath a city courthouse. Old files lived there, forgotten ones. Systems rarely cleaned what they thought no one would read. She searched the research trial, the one she had reported years ago. Most documents were gone, but not all. One name appeared repeatedly in budget approvals and oversight signatures. Dr. Calvin Roque. The name meant nothing at first, then everything. Roque wasn't a scientist. He was administration, oversight, compliance, risk management, the kind of man who never touched a patient, the kind of man who decided which problems disappeared quietly. Ilara's pulse quickened. Another file surfaced. Unidentified female. Found 2 years ago. Cause of death, overdose. Dental records altered. Fingerprints missing. The woman had worked briefly at the same private clinic as Mara Linwick. Ilara's stomach dropped. This wasn't rare. It was routine. She sat back slowly. Mara wasn't a substitution. She was inventory. Her burner phone vibrated. A single message. "You've accessed restricted archival material." Seconds later, "This is your final notice." Ilara found Calvin Roque's address easily. He lived well, not lavishly. Quiet wealth, security cameras, manicured hedges, a life built to appear unremarkable. He answered the door himself, mid-60s, calm. He looked at her inside. "I wondered when you'd stop running," he said. "I never ran," Ilara replied. "I adapted." He smiled faintly. "And now?" "Now I'm inconvenient," she said. Roque didn't deny anything. He never raised his voice. "We correct anomalies," he said, "lives that destabilize outcomes." "You killed them," Ilara said. "We replaced them," he corrected, "with people who needed exits." Mara's face flashed in Ilara's mind. "She trusted you." Roque nodded. "They always do." "You can still walk away," Roque said. "You've been very good at survival." Ilara shook her head. "I'm done surviving," she said. Roque studied her, then pressed a button on the wall. Somewhere in the house, something unlocked. "You should have taken the passport," he said. Footsteps echoed from upstairs. More than one pair. When the footsteps stopped at the top of the stairs, 2 men appeared. Not guards, not police. They wore the kind of clothing meant to disappear in crowds. Roque didn't look at them. He kept his eyes on Ilara. "You think this is violence?" Roque said calmly. "It isn't." Ilara didn't move. "This is administration," he continued. "Violence is messy. It creates records." He gestured lightly. "We prevent records." They led her into a study. No restraints, no raised voices, just expectation. A table sat in the center. On it were folders. Dozens. Names she didn't recognize. Yet. These are pending corrections, Roque said. People who have outlived their usefulness. Ilara's throat tightened. You want me to help you, she said. Yes, he replied. You understand anatomy, documentation, closure. She shook her head slowly. And I won't touch this. Roque sighed. That's unfortunate. One of the men slid a single folder toward her. Mara Linwick. Inside were photos. Before. After. Roque's voice softened. She could have lived, he said. She volunteered because we promised a replacement. Ilara clenched her fists. You lied. No, he said. We underestimated you. Roque leaned forward. You can expose us, he said, and these files will vanish, along with you. Or, he continued, you can help us complete 3 pending cases. Ilara stared at him. And then, he said, you become invisible again, safely. They left her alone. No guards. Just the folders. A clock on the wall ticked loudly. 3 lives. That was the price. She opened the top folder, a teenage boy, runaway, no family. Her hands shook. She closed it. Tears blurred her vision. And this was how it worked. Consent through pressure. The door opened. Roque returned. Have you decided? He asked. Ilara looked up. Her face was calm. Too calm. Yes, she said. Roque smiled. Good. Ilara stood from the table. She did not touch the folders. That was the first mistake they made. They assumed hesitation meant surrender. I'll need access, Ilara said evenly. Full access. Roque raised an eyebrow. To the records, she continued. Medical logs, transfer authorizations, death certifications. Roque considered her. You'll get what you need, he said. But understand, every minute you delay costs someone else. Ilara nodded. I understand. That was the truth, just not the truth he thought he heard. They gave her a terminal, encrypted, deep access. This wasn't a trap. It was arrogance. They believed control was permanent. Ilara's fingers moved quickly. Too quickly for someone who had just agreed to help. Ilara wasn't just a coroner. She had been a researcher once. She understood systems. She understood that administration always reused templates. She didn't delete files. She duplicated them. She redirected outputs. Changed where confirmations were sent. Changed who was listed as final authority. Names moved, roles inverted, liabilities reassigned. A notification appeared. Error. Authorization conflict detected. Roque frowned. What did you do? He asked. Ilara didn't look up. I told the truth, she replied. Alarms didn't sound. That wasn't how this system worked. Instead, phones rang. Men stepped into hallways. Quiet urgency replaced confidence. Roque's composure cracked for the first time. You don't understand the scope, he said sharply. Ilara finally met his eyes. I do, she said. That's why I corrected it. She pressed enter. Across multiple servers, a single change propagated. Status update, subject A, Calvin Roque. Status, active liability. Roque froze. That's not possible, he said. Ilara closed the terminal. You taught me, she said. Names are just placeholders. One of the men at the door checked his phone. His face drained of color. Sir, he said quietly, our clearance just dropped. Roque turned slowly. For the first time, he looked old. The system didn't collapse. It recalculated, and this time it pointed inward. The house went quiet. Not empty. Contained. Phones stopped ringing. Footsteps slowed. Roque stood very still. You don't win this, he said. His voice was no longer calm. Ilara didn't argue. She already knew. Systems don't panic. They stabilize. And within minutes, contingencies activated. External servers locked. Access narrowed. New decision-makers surfaced. Men Ilara had never seen stepped into rooms she hadn't noticed. Roque was no longer the center. He was a problem being evaluated. Roque's phone rang. He answered on the first ring. He didn't speak. He listened. His face drained slowly, like color pulled from skin. Yes, he said finally. I understand. The call ended. He looked at Alara. "They've accepted the correction," he said. She nodded. "And me?" she asked. Roque gave a thin smile. "They're deciding," he replied. "You forced a reallocation," Roque continued, "but you didn't erase the need." Ilara's chest tightened. "Someone always has to be the anomaly," he said. "The system can't exist without one." She understood then. Mara had been one. Now Roque was one. And soon, a man stepped forward. Older, quiet authority. "You will be relocated," he said to Ilara. "New identity, permanent severance." Ilara met his gaze. "And the people in those folders?" "They're safe," he replied. "For now." "For how long?" she asked. The man didn't answer. Two men approached Roque. Not violently, efficiently. Roque didn't resist. As he passed Ilara, he paused. "You think you've changed something?" he said softly. "You've just slowed it." She watched him disappear down the hall. She didn't disagree. The man handed Ilara a tablet. One signature required. It would finalize her erasure. Officially dead, permanently removed, no appeals, no reversals. Ilara stared at the screen. Her finger hovered. She thought of Mara, of the teenage boy in the folder, of how easily systems learned. She signed. A victory didn't feel like relief. Ilara Quince died quietly. No obituary, no funeral. Just a finalized record stamped closed. She woke up in a different city, different climate, different skyline. The man who met her did not smile. "Your name is Iris Calder now," he said. "Memorize it." He handed her documents, birth certificate, driver's license, employment history, a life assembled overnight. "You don't contact anyone from before?" he continued. "You don't revisit old locations." "And if I do?" Ilara asked. The man paused. "Then the correction reopens." Her new apartment was small, clean, anonymous. No personal touches. She recognized the design. It was the same template they had prepared for her old disappearance. The system reused what worked. She worked under supervision, medical examiner's assistant, never lead, never sign. Always observed. They didn't trust her. They couldn't erase what she knew. Sleep came poorly. She dreamed of water, of Mara's face just beneath the surface. Not accusing, just present. Years passed. Quietly, a corruption case surfaced in another state. A consultant named Calvin Roque had died during questioning. Heart failure. No charges filed. Ilara read the article twice, then closed it. Another body crossed her table one winter morning. Unidentified female. Altered records. Too familiar. Ilara felt something harden in her chest. She checked the file. Different signatures. Same logic. She hadn't broken the system. She had been absorbed by it. Improved. That night, her burner phone buzzed. A new message. "We need your expertise again." Ilara stared at the screen. Her hands didn't shake this time. Ilara did not reply to the message. She turned the phone face down and let it vibrate itself into silence. She already knew what they wanted, and she already knew what saying yes would mean. Survival hadn't freed her. It had trained her. She saw it now with a clarity that hurt. The system didn't punish rebels. It repurposed them. People like Ilara didn't disappear. They became tools with better judgment. The next morning, the unidentified woman was still on her table. Cold, unclaimed. Ilara studied the incision lines. The work was clean. Too clean. Whoever had done this was careful. Professional. Someone who knew what mistakes to avoid. Someone like her. Ilara completed the examination. By the book. No deviations. No flags. She signed where she was allowed to sign. She said nothing. That silence was not compliance. It was preparation. That night, she opened a private drive. Not a report. A ledger. Names, dates, patterns. Every inconsistency she noticed, she recorded. Every correction, every substitution. She didn't send it anywhere. Not yet. Time moved the way it always did. Quietly. Ilara aged. Her hair grayed at the temples. Her name changed twice more. Each correction smoother than the last. She became excellent at disappearing. One afternoon, a young forensic student shadowed her. Curious, idealistic. She asked too many questions. Good questions. Dangerous ones. Elara watched her carefully and said nothing. Years later, Elara collapsed in her apartment. No witnesses, no struggle. The official cause was cardiac failure. The file closed quickly, efficiently. The ledger was found months later, not by authorities, by the student. Hidden inside an archived case file, buried deep, when carefully mislabeled. The system didn't notice at first. It rarely noticed students. Nothing exploded. No headlines, no trials, just questions, studies, patterns emerging where none were supposed to exist. The system adjusted, but slower this time. Elara Quince never escaped. She never won. She didn't dismantle the system. She infected it, quietly, patiently, with memory. Some people don't change the world by surviving it. They change it by refusing to let it forget. And forgetting was the one thing the system needed most.